Our next speaker is Dave Wade with the Hanor Company. And if you haven't had the pleasure of meeting Dave at some point, I would absolutely encourage you to find him here after the talk. Dave has dedicated his life to the pig industry. And Dave, as I was reading your bio, I knew, your history, VP of operations at Hanor and then working with PIC. I did not know you had also worked with the sand system. So we have some overlap there. I've got some experience in those barns too. Yep. Dave's going to talk to us about how to manage sow farm costs, and he's got a lot of credibility here because he's seen a lot of sow farm costs through the years. And as we chatted last night, sow farm costs are pretty consistent. It doesn't matter how good your production is. You still put the same money into that sow farm all the time. And I think Dave said his direct goal is to make everybody in here pretty fired up. So with that, we'll have Dave close out the discussion with sow farm costs and hurdles to execution.
Thanks, Clayton. Appreciate it. Everybody hear me okay? There we go. Okay. Thank you. Like I said, I'm the only thing standing between you and lunch, so I'll try and make this as quick as I can and make sure you guys get to have a nice lunch here. The Hanor Company, a little bit about our company itself. We started in 1978. This is the core values of our company. I'm just going to show you quickly where we're at and what we do. We operate in 6 different states. Our sow farms are in Oklahoma, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Missouri. We have mainly all of our finishing. 80% of our finishing is in northwest Iowa, and the other 20% is in west central Illinois. So we got 83,350 females, 1.1 million nursery finisher spaces, and about 60,000 spaces for gilt development. Well, what's the key driver for sow farm cost? I mean, it's nothing but how many pigs are you getting sent out of that sow farm and getting them placed in the finisher, quality #1 pigs. That's the most important factor. Like Clayton said, almost all of your costs in a sow farm are not pig-based. You got a few vaccines and maybe iron and things like that, but for the most part, all of your costs are fixed into that sow farm. Location, 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 and what I mean by that is where your sow farms are at is the location. Where's the cheap feed at, right? Where's the quality of labor at? And then the quality and the placement, biosecurity from the disease standpoint. So the location for me is making sure we can envelope those 3 dynamics. Our sow farms are in not cheap places, being in Oklahoma and in North Carolina. So we tend to spend a little bit more on feed and transport. So we're at a bit of the mercy of those locations in order to produce high quality, healthy pigs. And that's what then you take them to northwest Iowa and muck them up anyway. So I got some things about that. But anyway, information. One of the biggest things I've been working on for the last 2 years is trying to get information to the slat level. We weren't very good as a company at getting information to our sow farm managers so they can make intelligent decisions. We also give them hardcore goals to hit, and we need to make sure that they hit those goals, because if they don't, you're wasting your time and losing money. So really those slat level reports and really knowing your cost. For example, sow farm managers don't care what breeding herd depreciation is. Doesn't mean anything to them, right? But what's important to them is how much are they spending on veterinary cost, how much are they spending on feed medication, what they're spending on electricity and utilities, things that they can manage and control. They don't need to know the stuff that the accountants need to submit the tax forms. And benchmark. Benchmark is so important to understand where you're at. I was just having a discussion with Brad this morning before the presentation, and how important it is for us to benchmark ourselves against everybody. Everybody knows that 40 years ago, when I started in this business 45 years ago, a 1.5% nursery death loss was deplorable. absolutely deplorable. Now we're accepting a 4.5%, 5% death loss in finishing. We have to hold people accountable for that. The genetic companies, the nutrition companies, the veterinary group, you know, these are all scientists. They need to help us figure out how that works and make that better for us. And then if you can ever benchmark yourself with an internal source or an external source, so you can share the information and feel good that the information isn't hyped up. Like Brad was talking this morning about during his presentation, you got to trust the people that are putting in the data are putting in the right data. And you can't be led astray with bad data. Bad data is just going to, you know, it's key to making good decisions. Diseases, of course, PRRS, PED, and the circle viruses, and you know, whatever tomorrow's new disease is going to be. There's always going to be a new disease or a challenge for us to work and get done. You know, PRRS, PED, when I started in the business, nobody never heard of them. But we've had circle virus, PRRS, PED, that has really been a challenge to manage and take care of our pigs. Location, like I said, it's biosecurity issues. I still don't know if I'm comfortable bringing all of our production to Northwest Iowa because we know we're going to have a higher death loss. So does that wash out with having facilities or finishing facilities in, you know, less pig dense areas? Can we make up for it in death loss? In our hands, 1% death loss is worth about $1.25 a pig for all pigs marketed. So if you can reduce that in our system, you know, that's over $2 million if we can reduce death loss by 1%. Transport pigs to the Midwest, like I said, we're at a disadvantage because we got to haul those pigs from Oklahoma to Northwest Iowa and North Carolina to Northwest Iowa. Those pigs are on the truck from 15 to 22 hours before they get to the nursery. So again, it's a cost that we've chosen, trying to keep biosecurity and diseases away from our piglets. Sow feed usage, I'll be talking a little bit about the caliper. Probably one of the single most, exciting technology that's come to us in the last 20 years. You know, and I'll go over that in a second. Labor is just, I don't know what you guys are experiencing right now, but we can't get enough people into our farms. It's just not happening anymore. And we're bringing in TN visa workers from Mexico to work at our farms, but we can't get them in fast enough. I encourage anybody that works with the legislators to see what you can do on immigration reform, because it's here to stay. You know, we can't get, you know, in Spring Green, Wisconsin, we haven't had a local person apply for a job in over 3 years. It's all been TN visa workers. So that's just, I know many of you are struggling with that labor issue, and we are too. Complacency, I encourage everybody to use an external consultant and have them monitor your production and deep dive into your production costs and your production practices. Don't just say, I got the best already. Make sure that, you know, you've been able to verify that you have the best production system available. Okay? Inflation is well, you guys know what inflation's doing right now to everything, whether it's corn or electricity or anything like that. You know, inflation's killing us right now. And keeping relevant information in front of the site managers and farm managers. Like I said before, we did not do a very good job of getting that information to them. And now we're doing that, and I don't think you can be afraid of showing your farm managers what your cost of production is or how much you're making on a pig. They can't affect it if they don't know what's going on. One of the things that really we concentrate on in our system right now is consistency of production. How many matings are you getting every week? And how many pigs are you weaning every week? You know, Jim Moody, our grow finish guy, he doesn't want, you know, 1,200 pigs this week and 800 pigs next week. That just costs you money moving pigs. So we pay part of our bonus to sow farm managers based on consistency of their production. So they make sure it may not be necessarily the maximum production, but we're trying to be consistent so it doesn't cost us to transport pigs. You know, if you put 1,200 pigs in this farm this week and 800 next week, are you going to move 200 pigs to that site just to make sure it's full? No, you're not going to do that. So consistent production is really a key driver for us. On the sow caliper, Dr. Mark Hanor from North Carolina State University, like I said, this is probably the single best tool that I have seen in the 40, 45 years that I've been in this business. And the reason I say that is it was easy for a consultant to come into a farm, into your sow farm, and say your sows were too fat or your sows were too thin, right? Now we have a way to measure it. We've taken the art out of feeding sows and we've put it into a science. For every 1/10 of a pound of feed per day in gestation costs our company $500,000 a year. So 1/10 of a pound less, we can save $500,000 in our system. It's extremely important that we get rid of the fat sows and we put them in optimum condition to produce optimum number of pigs. Developed, like I said, Dr. Hanor, and just we're testing 4 times. So we're doing it at weaning, at preg check, at 60 days, and then again at 90 days we're calipering all the sows and adjusting the feed boxes accordingly. So let's see if I go back. The caliper then tells you where, and then we decide to go whether to change the feed box or not. So you got a guy doing the caliper behind the sow, and you got a guy or a gal up on the front adjusting the feed box as they go down for each group. Make sure that they're optimum feed. A little bit about the cost side of it. On your left side is what we're actually doing today as 100% of production. So I'm not going to give you any numbers because then you'll just do the back math and figure it out. But I wanted to show you where you should pay attention to the most. As far as feed goes, it's about 40%, 41% of our cost producing a wean pig is in sow feed. Labor and benefits is about 15%. It's the number 2 cost of production. Herd replacements on the right side, we have been doing some depop repops and trying to get some health cleaned up on some of our sow farms. So I think that's a little bit high. If you look on your left side then, on the herd replacements now, I think this would be a more standard type number. It's 5.8% instead of 8%. So if you have more of a standard system that doesn't experience too many health breaks, I think you should be running around 6% of your cost of production would be herd replacements, net of culls. And what I mean by that is I subtract the cull market off, or the cull sows off that herd replacement. Okay? And I should tell you too also that the feed includes transport to the farm. Vet costs running a little over 5%, management support 4.3%, supplies 3%, utilities at 2.5%. You know, your biggest cost here is feed. How much time are you spending making sure that you got your diets right and your feed boxes adjusted accordingly? That's what's most important, and making sure that you get that done and get it done accurately. Benchmarking, a little bit challenged now with some of the things that are going on in the industry, but, excuse me. Getting done in the industry right now, some collusion things, but you know, if you can get your hands on benchmarking materials, they will make you better. And be trusting of your source, you know, of the information that you're getting. Because if you don't, you know, I've listed about 7 areas here where you can go get information from your bankers. Even your bankers should have some relevant information from other producers that they're lending money to, and they should know their costs. A little bit about Triumph Foods that we're connected with. Baxter Goodconnect, our former CFO or CEO and managing partner, you know, Hanor has always been a part of something other than just pig production. We started off being multiplier farms for PIC, then along came PERS, and that didn't help us much. But you know, we've always put a value-added pig on the market, whether it's through breeding stock or in this case through Triumph Foods, being an owner in Triumph Foods. We got the St. Joe plant, the Sioux City plant, and then Daly's is a bacon producer and ham producer in Utah, Montana, and now in St. Joe, Missouri. In that Daly's, there's 800 people working that bacon processing plant. So it's like I said, it's about developing a moat around your business, putting value-added pigs on the market. All of us know that it's hard to just raise pigs without having some sort of value added to level things out at times when times get tough. A couple of things. I gave this presentation to the American Society of Animal Scientists in February. And one of the things that I wanted to note to them people is scientists serve at the pleasure of answering questions. You know, you've got geneticists that take care of the genetic side of the pig. You got veterinary medicine that takes care of the health. You've got nutritionists that take care of the feed. Those are all science-based applications. And the production people like myself have to figure out how to implement it, but it's the scientists that are going to tell us what we need to do next and how to do it, right? Another thing that just drives me insane is the word sustainability. I don't know anything more sustainable than profit. If you don't have profit, you're not going to be sustainable. So I get a little irritated with that word. I haven't come up with a better word yet, but we really need to be thinking about it. But one thing that I think everybody needs to understand, if the consumer knew that 1/3 of the pigs died between conception and harvest, I think they would be appalled, right? So we have to get better at, whether it's through pregnancy manipulation or we just got to make death loss better and cull pigs better, because the cull pigs isn't even in that. This is 1/3. This is just death loss. Mummies, embryos dying. Food and water conversion, very important to our sustainability. Climate control, and of course our labor, like I talked before. Labor is just a huge issue that I don't know how we're going to mechanize things in a pig barn, but anything we can do to mechanize what we're doing in the pig farms sure would be beneficial to everybody. And I just wanted to leave it. This is Dr. Dean Boyd's slide. Whenever you think you're having a bad day, take a look at this chicken and think about, well, maybe tomorrow will be better, right? So I appreciate your time. I know it didn't take a half an hour, but I know if anybody has any questions, please feel free.
Let's give Dave a round of applause. We do have a couple of minutes for questions, so I'd entertain anything from the audience. I can get us started with one here, Dave. You talked about controlling sow gestation feed cost and the calipers. I know you've got some experience with pen gestation where we don't have ESF, so we're not feeding individuals necessarily because we don't know where they're going to go to get their feed.
Right.
You got any best practices or tips on how to manage feed cost in that situation?
Right. Well, we've got one farm that's got a just-off feed system that we can manage that very, very easily, how much feed they get. So we know that we want to feed 5 pounds a day, they can set it up, and that sow will get 5 pounds a day. On the other sow farms with pen gestation, we do, because they're in a crate to get mated, we do the mating there and we do the mating caliper, the preg check caliper, and then at day 90, they do the best they can in the pen gestation to make sure that they're not too fat.
Very good. What about Dave, the question from the audience? Yep, sorry, go ahead.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Ben.
Thanks for playing.
Yeah.
Appreciate your insights, especially from a production guy that isn't as young as he used to be. If you had $100 million and you started over today, Dave, looking at the Hanor system and what you've seen from the time you were at Sands Livestock in Michigan,
Yeah.
was that SLA 84, was it?
84-1, yeah.
Yeah. What type of system would you build today?
One without PRRS. I mean, disease is taking our knees out. It takes our knees out. Like I said, for us, 1% in death loss is about $1.25 for all pigs. And, you know, I think you can raise pigs in pen gestation. I don't have a problem with that anymore. I used to just fight like crazy that crates, it had to be crates. I don't think that anymore because the pen gestation barns we got right now, and they're not Prop 12 compliant. We got just a couple farms that are Prop 12 compliant, but the regular pen gestation farms, you can raise as good a pig there as you can with a crate, in my opinion. And it takes a lot of the talk out of the industry or the naysayers. If they put them in pens, they seem to be fine with that. And I think you can do that.
Follow up on the Prop 12 question or comment a little bit. You get to see a lot of financial information, and it sounds like you've got some sow farms that are Prop 12 compliant. What would it? So if you had the $100 million and Packer was going to offer you a contract for those pigs to be Prop 12 compliant, what would be the premium that you would have to get to say, all right, I'll sign up and I'll do that?
We've done those numbers. I'm afraid to answer that question. I'm going to say it's going to be worth somewhere between 10 and $20 a head.
Okay.
Somewhere in that area.
Very good. Any other questions for Dave? All right, let's give Dave a round of applause.
Thank you.